On this program, we're going to talk about pioneers, those hardy people who moved out west once they had settled in the east and they decided they didn't want to stay there and wanted to see what was ahead. We're going to sing early songs, late pioneer songs. This one was a little later, probably in the 1800s, and it was often that when these people went out west and they were writing back or letting people back east know what was happening, and they bragged and they boasted about the places they were that were really much better than anything anybody could imagine. This is one of those. Way down upon the Wabash, such land was never known. If Adam had passed over it, the soil he'd surely own. He'd think it was a garden he played in as a boy, and straight pronounce it Eden in the state of Illinois. Then move your family westward, good health you will enjoy, and rise to wealth and honor in the state of Illinois. She's bound by the Wabash, the Ohio, and the lakes, the milksick and the swampy lands, the milksick and the shakes. But these are slight diversions, and not takes the joy of living in this garden land, the state of Illinois. Then move your family westward, good health you will enjoy, and rise to wealth and honor in the state of Illinois. Way up in the northward, right on the borderline, a great commercial city, Chicago, you will find. Her men are all like Abelard, her women like Eloise, all honest, virtuous people from the state of Illinois. Then move your family westward, bring all your girls and boys, and cross that Shawnee Ferry to the state of Illinois. And it goes on with many other verses bragging and bragging about what a beautiful land that was. The pioneers did move west, but way before this time that this song was sung, Daniel Boone was moving out from the east and moving towards the west to a place called Cumberland Gap. It was early, actually much before 1800. And there was a song called Cumberland Gap, and it talked about the first settlers there, and who met Indians when they came, I guess. First white man in Cumberland Gap, first white man in Cumberland Gap, first white man in Cumberland Gap, Dr. Walker and English chap. Me and my wife and our little chap, me and my wife and our little chap, me and my wife and our little chap, all make a living in Cumberland Gap. Daniel Boone on Pinnacle Rock, Daniel Boone on Pinnacle Rock, Daniel Boone on Pinnacle Rock, he killed Indians with an old flintlock. Cumberland Gap is a noted place, Cumberland Gap is a noted place, Cumberland Gap is a noted place, 3 kinds of water to wash your face. The words of that are, you know, just about what was happening at the time, which was very true of most of the songs of those days. They would write about, sing about what was happening, but the tune of that is what's interesting. That's a fiddle tune, and we're going to have some guests on now that are going to play some other fiddle tunes and some dance tunes to show you what kinds of dances they were doing then and what kinds of dances they're still doing, in fact, now out in Missouri and other parts. Like, would you call Missouri West? Missouri West?
Central, I imagine.
Central. This is Vesta Johnson and John Philbrick. I don't know why I can't remember that. And they are going to play. Why don't you just play first the tune, and then we can talk about what you're playing. And here.
We'll do one. Tennessee Wagner.
Tennessee Wagner. All right. great. Vesta, when did you begin playing the violin?
Oh, it was in the families, and I don't really remember when I first started. They always told me I cut my teeth on it.
Teeth on the violin. Where was your family from? Where'd you live?
My immediate family was from Missouri.
Missouri. And how about your grandparents?
One set of my grandparents came in covered wagon from
Did they?
Ohio.
From Ohio. And what about before that?
Well, they told me some of my ancestors came from Ireland.
Ireland. They probably brought some of the tunes with them that you are playing now. Probably. Did they play? Do you know?
No, they didn't. But there's always been music
in the family.
There always some family that played music.
How about you, John?
Well, I had a grandmother that came down here in a covered wagon.
Also, really? From where?
I don't know, up east, somewhere back east.
Back east,
and she came down here, and I remember my grandfather played the fiddle.
Oh, did he?
He used to sit out by the house under an old peach tree and play a few tunes, but I was real small then. And then, of course, my dad had a violin when I was little. And he made me one because he didn't want me to play his. He made me one first out of a cornstalk. And later on, when I got bigger, he made one out of a cigar box. And it'd make a little noise, so I was real happy with that.
You liked the way it sounded.
Yes.
And then you play fiddle too, don't you?
Yes.
And when did you begin playing the guitar?
Well, I guess about when I was 10 years old, when I could reach the string.
And be able to break the chords. Do you remember the first song you ever learned on the guitar?
It was a fiddle tune of some kind.
Isn't that interesting? Because there was this fiddling in the background.
Yes.
Yeah, that Cumberland Gap song that I just sang is a fiddle tune.
Yes.
And which they put words to, but that happened very often. They did put words to those. Would you play us another one?
Any certain kind?
Well, we were talking about waltzes before. That's the kind of dances that they did.
Yes. They still do that in Missouri.
Do they?
Waltz. Want to do the Over the Waves?
Over the Waves. Like in those old days when people were crossing covered wagons.
I think that's the only entertainment they had, and I think that was it.
That was it. They'd stop and rest a while, probably. Somebody played the fiddle. Somebody probably played the guitar.
Always.
They took them out and they danced. Now, were they kind of square dances as us city folks? I'm a city folk myself. Were they very organized dances, you suppose, with callers and, this kind of circle left and right hand round and da-da-da-da-da? Or were they just kind of whatever anybody wanted to do you suppose?
Well, no, I'm not quite that old, but back when I was growing up, we had Saturday night, square dances. They called them square dances, but they didn't do all-together square dances. They done waltzes and polkas and schottisches and round dances of all kinds, two steps and one steps.
How about jigs and things? Because I have a feeling that there were a lot of Irish tunes brought over. That kind of is a thread that runs through many, many songs in our country, and I certainly know many of the fiddle tunes that were originally piping tunes in Ireland. How about, what? Know any? Piping tunes? Irish jigs? What did we do? We played one before.
Schottish?
No, it was a jig. Actually, I know what it was. It's a song that's called The Arkansas Traveler.
Yes, that's a square dance, but a jig tune.
But I think it's a jig tune. Why don't you play that one? Because that's a very well-known and people know that. Do you know any calls that callers used? Can you think of any kinds of things they did?
Yeah, they have one they call Teeter Swing, and Four Little Sisters, and Figure Eight. Mm-hmm. Oh, quite a few of those. And people sort of just knew those steps, didn't they? I mean, if a caller called, and callers weren't professional callers, they were just somebody in the party that knew
They were good. They were good. They knew how, and people knew how to follow them, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, can I play with you?
Sure.
On something?
Sure can.
Can we do another lively one, maybe?
The Leather Britches?
Leather Britches, excellent.
All right.
I know that's a good
old
oldie.
tune. I think about one of the oldest.
It's a song, but I don't know it.
I don't expect you to learn all the things that we're teaching on this series as we're teaching them, but I do expect you to want to learn them. And if you want to learn them, there's a book that we put together with all the songs that I teach, and the strums, and the chords, and all the information that's necessary for you to learn how to play what we play on the show. And if you stay tuned to the end of the program, you can find out where to send for this book. This part of the program, we're going to learn a new chord, and we're going to sing some sad songs of parting, because those were very much sung in those days, since many people were parting from each other. Some families actually parted while the father went away out west to seek his fortune and find a place for his family. Lovers parted, as in this case. Once on a time there lived a man, his name was Peter Gray. He lived right out in that fair town called Pennsylvania. Blowy winds in the morning, blowy winds high-o. Blowy winds in the morning, blow. Peter fell in love all with a nice young girl. The first three letters of her name were Lucy. She was sent beyond the Ohio. Blow ye winds in the morning, blow ye winds high-o. Blow ye winds in the morning, blow. Now Peter went away out west to seek his Fort Cayenne, but he was caught and scalp-eyed by a blood-eyed lion. She had a mind to jump into the Susquehanna. Blowy winds in the morning, blowy winds high-o. Blowy winds in the morning, blow. She heard of the sad news, she knew not what to say, so she wept and wept and wept by her poor sweet life away. I'd like to show you what I was doing in the right hand, certainly, because that's a variation of some of the strums you've already learned. Certainly, you recognize in the first part I was just strumming straight down, which is very good for narrative singing. It tells the story, and then usually choruses repeat. And I was going 1, 2, and I waited on the third beat and came in on the fourth beat. in songs that are 4/4 time or 2/4 time. And I would like to just mention in passing that rests in music are as important as notes. Think about that. Think about that. All right. Another teaching thing I want to do now. I want to teach you a new chord. And the chord is a B7. So get on an E chord, first of all. There's an E chord. That's an oldie but a goodie, and you know that one. All right. Now, I want you to move your first finger up a string. Here it was. You're going to move it up. Leave your second finger where it is. Move your third finger down a string. And put your little one on the bottom in that fret. And that's a B7 chord. We'll do that again. It's strummed from the A string. And that string is now B. The string is still A, but it sounds like B because you have the finger at the second fret. All right. Let's go back to E. Take away your pinky, move this up, move this one down, and there's your E. All right. Let's switch to B7. First finger up, second finger stays there, third one down, and little one on the bottom. And back to E. All right. I'm going to sing a long song which has this chord in it. Lots of words. If you have the book, you can do it with me. If not, just watch my hands and switch when I switch. There are lots of words, some of which I'm going to have to read towards the end since I didn't learn them all. But it does a lot of B7s and E's, and I think this will be very good practice. And it's an easy song. In fact, the tune of this song is Poor Miss Bailey is one of the tunes. The name of the one I'm going to do is The Hunters of Kentucky, because since we're doing pioneer songs, this was indeed sung as The Hunters of Kentucky. It's about Andrew Jackson and his Hunters of Kentucky that came with their rifles and blazed a trail into the West. And they were actually one of the symbols of the expanding Western frontier, these Hunters of Kentucky, very tall, rangy men who were very hardy and tough, as the song tells about. It starts in E, and it's just a plain strum like that. It uses the chords E, in case you don't have a book yet, A, and the new chord B7, which you will do with me in the tune. It's ye gentlemen and ladies fair who grace this famous city, just listen if you've time to spare while I rehearse this ditty, and for the opportunity conceive yourselves quite lucky, for 'tis not often that you see a hunter of Kentucky. Oh, Kentucky. as you probably see, it goes on and on and on and on with great stories. Actually, many of those songs were very long, and there was a reason for that. They were telling a story, but I suppose they could have told it in a shorter way. The reason was that they had nothing else to do with their time very often, and would sit around at night and sing. And earlier, as we talked about, or they would dance. They would dance to fiddles and guitars, or they would sing, and actually, often, they would just make up verses about some event that was happening. And they would go on, and many of these have been handed down, and sometimes they just sort of go on a little too long, I think. I'd like to sing another one called The Little Old Sod Shanty. I'd like to sing just a verse of that. That also has many other verses. It's a nice song, and it was about the pioneers who came out to Nebraska and Kansas from the east, and there was nothing to build houses with. They had only sod. So they made kind of blocks of sod and built houses. And I saw recently, on a news broadcast, in fact, on television, a lady in, I think she was in Nebraska, was living in the city, but she had a sod shanty on the plains in Nebraska, and she was being interviewed on television because all the electricity had gone out in the city, and she went back to her little old sod shanty in the plains, and was very happy there. And the reporter was saying to her, well, you know, don't you miss all the things? She said, as a matter of fact, I really don't. I remember living here many, many years ago when I was young, and it was really very nice. It was cool in the summer, and it was warm in the winter, and it was quiet, and not so many things that you had to worry about. It was really kind of a nice thing, and it does go with this song. This is called The Little Old Sod Shanty on the Claim, because that's what they did. They claimed land. I'm looking rather seedy now while holding down my flame. My victuals are not always of the best, and the mice play shyly round me. I nestle down to rest in my little old sod shanty on my claim. Oh, the hinges are of leather, and the windows have no glass, and the boards they let the howling blizzard in. And you see the hungry coyote as he sneaks up through the grass to my little old sod shanty on the plain. That's just one verse, and then there are other lots of other verses that go on, and they're kind of funny ones that they sing. I'd like to end with a song which I'm sure was sung during this period, but was not from this period. It's probably from an earlier period, and it's called 10,000 Miles. In fact, I'm sure the tune was English originally. It's called 10,000 Miles. I'm going away for to stay a little while. Coming back if I go 10,000 miles. Who will show your love, and who will clap your hand, and who will kiss your red ruby lips when I am gone? Look away over yonder road. I'm going away for hope you'll work on some of these songs and learn them for yourself so that you can enjoy playing and singing. Bye-bye.
Enroll in the Patchwork Telecourse and receive Laura Weber's 90-page Patchwork Songbook and Guide. Send $5 and your name and address to Patchwork, Box 24130, St. Louis, Missouri